Peter is digging through old files at the Bugle trying to find info on a certain person, and he's not having much luck. Rita has something else on her mind.
There's something I gotta tell you.
What's that?
I was pretty upset when you went to the slammer.
Well, how do you think I felt about it?
Hey, stop that. I'm being serious.
Yeah, I know you are. And I do appreciate it.
Marry her, Peter. I get the feeling she could be open to the idea. We don't get the story behind that exchange, but Peter doesn't seem that upset. He seems more concerned about how bad he is at this file stuff.
How did you know Mrs. Gray wasn't guilty?
I don't really know. I never knew anyone who had absolutely no defense at all like that. Kind of hard to explain, really. Rita, look, you know how I am about filing. Now, I've got to find one here on a guy named Amos Dalton. The file should be about 11 years old. Will you find it for me? Sure.
If he had any sense and knew how to pick up on some cues, he'd offer to reward her with dinner at a nice restaurant. But Peter tends to get wrapped up in his own stuff and misses a lot. As I recall, in the old comics, it took him something like 3 issues to realize that Gwen Stacy was a girl. When she eventually confronted him about being such a snob, his hormones woke up real quick.
Where will you be when I find it?
Home.
File that under the best laid plans of mice and men. The case is chained to his wrist, and if you've spent any part of your life watching action movies and TV shows, you know how effective that's going to be. Bad guy alert, we can tell by the music and the camera work. We've seen Nicholas Coster before in The Green Hornet and Wonder Woman. He seems to have a thing for our favorite superhero shows. He was born in London and studied acting at the prestigious Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. He spent many years doing theater, both on and off Broadway, and when he broke into television, suddenly he was everywhere. Today, he's one of the most convincing bad guys that we've seen yet. The scenario? The man with the metal case is a State Department courier. Inside that case is some incredibly sensitive information about national security. He's supposed to deliver it somewhere. The man in the white suit has other ideas. I have a feeling we're going to find a dead courier. Or not. Why kill him when all you have to do is bury him in a pile of coats?
Hello, Peter? Rita. The airport's been quarantined.
As I said, Peter had planned to be home. Never mind.
I know you people got word of the quarantine on the press wire, but this is not a crisis. We have placed one terminal in quarantine because a passenger may, and underline may, have come in contact with a communicable disease.
He can't identify the passenger, the disease, the flight they were on. Basically, for all his protests that it's a non-issue, he's telling them a whole lot of nothing. I don't think anybody is buying it.
Oh, Peter, I'm sorry.
Julie, how come you're only a klutz when I'm taking a picture? If the whole airport is quarantined, why can't we go down and meet the passengers as they're released?
Right, why do we have to stay up here? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry for the inconvenience, but we do not want to create a panic. The situation will be resolved in a few minutes, and I have to ask you to please remain here.
I repeat, nobody is buying this line, and Peter didn't get his position at the Bugle by being timid.
No, where you going? Chris has got to be behind the rope. Oh, yes, I realize that, but that's Jim McGann of the FBI. I know him. He wants to talk to me. Okay, Jim, what's going on here? Peter, you're supposed
Excuse me, are you with the health department? I don't believe we've met before.
No comment.
Well, perhaps you could comment. What is your name, sir?
Peter, I said no comment.
All right, let's go. What is that?
Peter Parker, reporter from the Bugle. Hey, Jim!
It's 1977, 3 years after Watergate and Nixon's resignation. 2 years after we lost the war in Vietnam, and information about all the horrors that took place over there are starting to come to light. Before that, we knew a few things, such as the My Lai massacre, but they didn't tell us the half of it until it was all over and people started pounding on the State Department's door demanding answers. The point is, this was a time when we knew our government was lying to us. What we have here is a prime example of that, and it leaves me asking a simple question: why didn't people trust their leaders?
Isn't that Jim again? Why would the FBI be involved in a quarantine situation?
That's what Peter wants to know, but Jim wouldn't tell him.
Well, maybe it isn't. Maybe they're just passing through.
Accident, huh?
Julie just snapped a perfect picture of the head bad guy, and he saw her do it.
When you're not being a klutz, you're really very nice.
When I'm not being a klutz.
Truth?
No, I don't trust you.
Hey, that hurts me. It really does. Peter, I don't think that's at all fair.
There's one small problem with the sweet, sexy smile, Julie. He's not looking at you.
Since when have you ever been fair?
Well, it'll be different from now on. See, I had to prove myself. You know, small town girl in the big city, on trial, needing a job. You understand.
I really can't tell if she means it, if she's a little sweet on him, if she's trying to jerk him around. She's good at this, and that smile could melt steel, if he would look at her.
Look, the jokes and the flip talk, the competing, I mean, that's part of me, but not the most important part.
It's what I see and what I hear.
In other words, if that's really not the most important part of you, maybe you should show him the other parts once in a while.
I'm not tough, really. I'm not manipulating. I'm not self-sufficient.
Oh, so actually you're just kind of a cream puff, huh?
You've got to believe me. It matters. I guess I kind of need you to like me.
I do.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
It's a wagon load of nothing. Passenger just had a bad cold, quarantine is lifted, no harm, no foul. Peter doesn't believe it, and I don't think Julie does either, but they can't get anything out of anybody. May as well head off to some place where something interesting is happening.
That's the girl who took the photograph of me. Stay with her.
Peter's car and Julie's bike are on the same parking level. Somehow these two just can't get away from each other.
I'll jump out here. See you later.
I know the visual representation of his spider sense has changed a few times, but you know what? As long as we know what it is, I'm not going to whine. In the comics with static panels, it usually appeared as wavy lines around his head, and anytime we saw that, whether he said something or not, we knew what was happening. I don't know how one would do the wavy lines in a live-action show without CGI. Again, if this gets the idea across, just go with it. That van has its nose right up the shuttle's exhaust pipe, but at your average metropolitan airport, that's not unusual. Tailgating is kind of a requirement.
All right, follow her.
Her bike is on the roof, so the van will zip on up there. Peter is taking his own route. Which is to say the direct route. He's there just in time. Our man stops to take the film out of the camera. What he doesn't know is there's nothing on it. Julie already changed the film.
What happened? That guy or whatever he was tried to rob me.
Julie gets her camera back, devoid of film. Peter has developed his own film.
Certainly I know McGann. I also know the other man in this picture. Sergeant Evans from the State Department.
Well, what was he doing with McGann at the airport?
Well, how should I know?
He didn't want to be identified, but he was giving orders. Now, why would the State Department and the FBI both be involved in a simple quarantine case?
Peter can smell something here, and it doesn't smell like spring flowers.
Still no answer at Julie's, and her editor doesn't know where she is.
Terrific.
So, what about the quarantine at the airport that everybody's pretending didn't happen?
Mr. Jameson is letting me dig into it.
That's great. That's not great?
Well, yeah, it is, but...
It's great enough for him, but he's concerned about Julie. It's obvious to him that she took a picture of somebody who didn't want to be picture-tooked. Rita and Jonah only see her as someone who works for the competition. Peter sees her as a person in danger. And at the moment, nobody can find her. He's going to go wait at her apartment in case she shows up.
I have the NATO defense plans. Price? $2 million. Of course I remember my original proposal. Where money is involved, I never forget. I raised the price because the documents are more valuable than I thought.
Briefly, the documents are the layout of NATO's entire strategic defense. Some genius thought it was a good idea to put the whole mess into one folder. That genius now operates a weather station at Point Barrow.
I don't like delays. You trying to stall? I get verification from your government and arrange to have the money delivered by Tuesday. If you can make it any sooner, so much the better. Keep in touch with my office.
His other man just came in and informed him that there's nothing on the film.
Now, we are sitting ducks on $2 million worth of NATO defense plans if anybody sees that photograph.
Does the girl who took it know you?
What difference does that make? The State Department people and the FBI know me. What if they see those pictures?
I'm gonna guess that Interpol and every other law enforcement outfit on the planet knows him. But that doesn't help them unless they can pin something on him. So far, that hasn't happened.
Rita, call the State Department. Get me Mike Callahan. See if he can put me in touch with Arnold Evans.
Okay, I'll try to reach him at... Mr. Jameson, when would you like to see Mr. Evans?
What do you mean when? I want to see him as soon as possible.
Walked in to see you, Mr. Jameson, when your secretary said you were trying to reach me.
Is that soon enough? But he's not here for pleasantries, as if anybody thought he was.
What do you say to that?
It's not very flattering.
Don't hand me that fairy tale about the quarantine at the airport.
I won't.
You're not going to convince me that you and McGann were prowling around the airport just because some incoming passenger had a slight cold. I wasn't born yesterday, you know. What do you mean I won't?
Some enormously valuable and embarrassing documents were stolen from a courier at the airport.
He's here to ask, more precisely, tell Jonah to squelch the story. Jonah says, I have Peter Parker looking into things. Evans says, don't.
Sounds like an attempted cover-up of some bureaucratic mess.
Oh, it's a mess. And we do want to cover it up. But it's not bureaucracy. This is national security.
The standard excuse.
That's right. But this time it's more than just an excuse. This time it's a very real crisis. And we do need your cooperation.
He doesn't have much choice. He understands what Evans is saying. If you don't play ball with us, all your contacts that you've spent decades cultivating will dry up and blow away. The big question is how he's going to break this to Peter and whether Peter will go with it or not. We know John Crawford as Kronos, the time merchant in Lost in Space, but we also saw him in Adventures of Superman, Batman, The Time Tunnel, Land of the Giants, Hogan's Heroes, and The Invisible Man, to name just a few. He was another of those hard-working character actors who will take any role, no matter how big or small, and pour themselves into it to give the best performance they can. As I've said many times, they're the folks who quietly excel and make the stars look real good. That's where Julie's apartment is. Peter just arrived. But his spider sense is telling him somebody got there before him.
There's a guy coming into the building. Probably nothing. No sign of the girl. What about the negative and print? Over.
Got him. I'm going to burn these and then check around and make sure there aren't any others.
It's easy to get involved in something like that and forget to watch your back. A quick phone call and the police will find Carl trussed up in webbing, caught in the act at the scene of the crime. But as far as they know, it was a simple burglary. Julie comes home to find police swarming all over her place. Peter isn't far behind.
Is this walkie-talkie yours?
I never saw it before.
Unusual. A cheap rip-off artist doesn't stay in touch with an outside man.
That thread of evidence will die of loneliness and never come up again.
Maybe I just attract a better class of burglar.
Excuse me, what are these ashes here?
Looks like burned photographs. Or melted film.
I didn't burn anything.
Did you have any pictures in here that anybody might want destroyed?
I can't imagine what.
If you've ever burned film or been around film that was burning, you and I both know that the main thing anybody would have noticed in that apartment is the smell. Neither celluloid nor photographic paper gives off a pleasant aroma. The first words out of the lieutenant's mouth, Julie's mouth, and all the rest would be, "Something's burning in here." Julie doesn't know of anything on that roll that anybody should care about. Some generic pictures of the airport, a random guard sure doesn't seem like a big deal.
Wait a minute, this morning at the airport you were taking pictures. Have you developed them yet?
Yes, and made a proof sheet. But they weren't important or significant.
When I was in my early teens, I got into photography, and at its peak, I had a full darkroom set up. Julie said she made a proof sheet, also known as a contact sheet. There's a device called a contact printer, and you lay the film strips out on it, put a piece of photo paper on top of them face down, and close the lid. That turns on a light and exposes the paper. Develop that page, and you have a full set of pictures on one sheet. With that, you can go through the pictures and decide which are usable and which ones aren't. This is how you save buttloads of money on photo paper if you're a professional photographer. The whole sheet didn't finish burning, but he burned the part with Andre's picture, so mission accomplished. Peter can see how everything fits together and revolves around the incident at the airport, but nobody's listening. He says, "If I'm right, you're in danger."
Look, why did they steal your camera? Why did somebody break
By
in here
the way,
and burn your...
how did you know my camera was stolen? You weren't with me.
A cop told me about it at the airport.
Yeah, well, it still doesn't mean I'm in danger.
Julie, the man who stole your camera wasn't a thief. He threw it away. What he wanted was the film.
Could be. The police found the empty camera and returned it to me.
Yeah, that's the point. He stole the film, not the camera. Here, he burned film. He didn't steal anything. Do the math, Julie.
Okay, then you just stay put until I figure this whole thing out.
Now, look, Peter, if you think
Just
I'm going
don't
to
let anybody in this apartment that you don't know.
Nobody is going to hurt me. You've been taking panic pills.
You've been taking stubborn pills.
In reality, Peter has been taking stupid pills if he thinks he's going to order her around like that. Ask Peter, let her know you're concerned and suggest these things. Maybe sit down with her and brainstorm. Act like a friend because you're way too young to be her father. We get lots of establishing shots of the Empire State Building today because that's where our bad guy's office is.
I tell you, Carl guaranteed the film was burned. Are you afraid the police will make Carl talk?
Well, the worst that can happen is that he'll be sentenced to a few months in jail, and after that, well, he'll collect $500,000 for keeping his mouth shut.
Can Carl handle that much money all at once? The dumbest criminals are the ones who come into a lot of cash illegally and then go off on massive spending sprees that catch the attention of the authorities and they end up getting caught. If Carl is one of those, watch your back, because for the right plea bargain, you know he'll roll over on you.
But the girl who took the photograph of me, she saw me.
But she doesn't have the picture anymore.
She saw me. She knew I was there. The authorities have a look at the mug books. She'll find me and identify me.
She will not identify you.
We know what that means.
Who's there? Who's there?
She calls the police and says, I think someone just tried to break in. I have to say, if that's what was happening, it was a pretty weak attempt.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm going to have to keep an eye on Julie while I'm digging into this story.
The activities of a rival photographer are not my concern, and they shouldn't be yours. Let the register handle it. I've got another assignment for you.
Earlier today, you agreed that I should cover this story. What happened to change your mind?
I followed through on the airport situation with my contacts. The authorities are handling the matter. In the meantime, you're going to cover the opening of the flower show.
That's not even a demotion. That's a slap in the face.
You've got to be joking.
Yes?
Telephone call for Peter.
Since when does he get calls on my phone?
Oh, that's all right. I'll take it. Hello?
I just wanted to tell you that I stopped taking stubborn pills.
Julie, what's happened?
I think somebody tried to break in.
Look, don't take any chances. Just call the police.
I have. They're on their way. I just wanted to apologize to you.
As we heard, the police are there. But as Lieutenant Martinez tells her, they can't be there around the clock.
Another attempted break-in at Julie's. Now, do you believe me, or do you need an affidavit?
I don't care. I want you to get over to that flower show.
Okay, just as soon as I can. But for now, I'm going to Julie's, just to make sure everything's all right.
I don't pay you to go to Julie's.
Have you seen Julie?
City desk, please.
These things are a bit of a two-edged sword. On the one hand, you can do just about anything you need with it. On the other hand, addiction to them is a real thing. But at least nobody can do that. Our would-be assassin knows the door's locked, so he'll come in a different way. She's trying to find something sturdy enough to clunk an intruder over the head with. She's watching the door while she does. She should have been watching the window. See, to hit somebody with that, you kind of need to be facing them. But he's not the only one who knows how to use a window. He says, I'm not going after that guy because he could have an accomplice who comes in after I'm gone. For now, lock the door and the windows and don't go anywhere. He assures her that the phone line will be fixed so she can at least call people.
Who's there?
Peter.
Are you alone?
Yeah, I left the butler downstairs with my footman and chauffeur.
She explains what happened, and that really put a scare into her. Peter says we have to figure out who's after you and why, and it has something to do with the pictures you took at the airport.
I told you, the only pictures I took at the airport were of the plane that was quarantined, the airport manager... Hey, the guard!
What guard?
All right, this sounds crazy, but when you shoved my arm, I took a picture of a guard, and he didn't seem to want to have his picture taken. Suppose he really wasn't a guard.
Yeah, that could be, but you don't have the picture anymore. Do you remember what he looks like?
I think so.
He says, let's head to the newspaper morgue and look through some mugshots. That's exactly what Andre doesn't want to happen.
Now look, if we don't get a lead on this character, you have got to hold up here.
If I wasn't so scared, I'd argue with you.
I don't believe it. For once, we agree.
Oh, there's something else you agree on, but neither of you wants to say it. There are sparks flying between you two, and not the snarky kind.
Julie, wait!
That was a serious hit. It'll be well after dark before he wakes up. That tells us something important about his spider powers. They don't make his head any harder.
I told the police that Julie was kidnapped. They say they've got to wait for the kidnappers to make a move. I don't know, a ransom note or something.
That's customary procedure.
But this case is different. Government agencies have been involved in a cover-up right from the start. Now, you've got enough muscle to get to the bottom of this. You've got to help Julie.
I don't have that much muscle.
Mr. Jameson, a girl's life is at stake.
The government has put on the clamps. I was approached by the State Department and asked to keep this very quiet.
That's why he suddenly wanted to send you to a flower show instead of being straight with you. Peter is trying to point out that this isn't a ransom kidnapping, it's a keep her quiet permanently kidnapping. The FBI is waiting for a call that will never come. Jonah says, but we don't have anything to go on either.
No, wait, there's one lead. There's one lead that we haven't followed yet.
Huh? What's that?
The guy in jail. The guy who broke into Julie's.
The police questioned him for hours. They got absolutely nothing on him.
That's right, so why keep him there?
Are you suggesting that any criminal who refuses to talk should be released from jail?
What if the Bugle were to put up his bail money?
Okay, now you're being mean. This is hitting Jonah where it hurts the most, his wallet.
That's ridiculous.
It's our only chance. If he's out of jail, I'll follow him, and maybe he'll lead me to Julie.
Jonah says absolutely not. She works for the register. Let them put up the money that you know they'll never get back because this guy is guaranteed to jump bail. He's missing one little point. If Peter follows him and they catch all the bad guys, Carl is back behind bars and can't jump bail. Peter tries a different tack.
And maybe get a beat on the story if the kidnappers are captured.
Better judgment.
Carl can't believe it. He's free. He'll take a roundabout way and wear a disguise, but he heads for Andre's office. sir, if you want to blend in with the crowds, a blonde wig is a start, but a Carl Kolchak hat kind of defeats your purpose. Peter notes what floor he's going to, then he changes and climbs up the outside of the building. I would really like to know how many permits they had to get to do that, because that's not green screen. That is real. Andre is making his $2 million deal in a couple of hours, so they're vacating the office. He tells his henchman to go check the apartment one more time to make sure there's nothing to connect anything with them. And of course, all this means eliminating Julie. She's tied up and gagged in the corner. I can hear someone asking why they haven't killed her already. Answer? I don't know.
Who's there?
Carl, open up.
How did you get out?
Bail, you put it up, didn't you? No, you was...
Hold on. If they're pulling out, that means he was going to leave Carl behind without his $500,000, presumably. It's a good thing for him that Carl can't think in such complicated terms.
Set up by who?
Were you followed?
No, I was careful.
Of course you were followed. Why else would they let you out?
No chance. I was real careful to see that nobody followed me. In fact, I wore this. Nobody would know me.
I'm not even going to talk to you. Get rid of her. We're clearing out fast.
Carl told the elevator operator to take him to the 32nd floor. Spider-Man is on the ledge outside that floor. His tracker will tell him which window will take him to the right office. And did they have to get even more permits to do that? This episode's direction is the best I've seen yet. How many times are we likely to get a Spidey's eye view of New York from a ledge?
I'm telling you, I was careful because I was...
There are many reasons why Carl is just a henchman.
Operator, this is Office 7241 of the Empire State Building. Tell the police there's a kidnapping in progress.
Sort of. The exciting part is over. You guys can be the cleanup crew.
Thanks. Please get me loose before any newspapermen show up. I've got to get my camera. Hey, what are you doing? I need the pictures.
Okay.
And now he'll untie her.
Here, I'll take these off your feet.
There, you should be all right now.
Wait, finish up.
Here come the Marines. You'll be all right.
Hey, why did you take those pictures? I need them. Who's gonna get them?
Well, mostly. And from last season, we know that Peter's association with Spider-Man is common knowledge, so she shouldn't need to ask. We get some more spectacular footage of Fred Waugh climbing down the wall this time, and I have to say, you're a braver man than I am, Gunga Din. But hey, we paid through the nose for those permits, and by gum, we're going to get all the money's worth we can out of them.
Sensational. Absolutely sensational. This is page 1. I don't know how you did it.
Well, to tell you the truth, Spider-Man took that picture and he gave it to me.
Peter should pay more attention to Rita's elbow.
I don't care who took it as long as we can use it. That's a great job.
As a matter of fact, if it hadn't been for Spider-Man...
Well, it doesn't really matter. I'm only interested in the end results. On the other hand, are you trying to tell me that you couldn't do your job if it weren't for Spider-Man's help? Why am I paying you?
For pictures, Mr. Jameson, just like the one you have right here in your hand. Right, Pete?
Right.
He was about to talk himself out of getting paid. Peter, you can be honest without telling everything you know.
Man, you left yourself wide open in there. A few more seconds, Jameson would figure out some questions you might not want to answer.
Like what?
Oh, I don't know. Would you like me to try and think of some?
No.
Is Rita beginning to suspect? That would make for some interesting storylines. This was an unusual way for us to get to know Julie, and I like it. Through some scary events, we let her show herself to us. She knows who she wants to be, but she's still sorting out the path to getting there. If the series had gone longer, we could have enjoyed watching her develop and grow. She's a good character, and I like her. There's just one thing. It's obvious that Peter and Julie have more than a passing attraction. But I still think Peter should hold out for Rita. Average of metropolitan, neither a celluloid. Let her, he can do that. Oh, for crying out loud! That's exactly, that's. She, don't bite yourself.